Should be going. All right. I think we are live. Welcome and thank you guys for showing up to the Live to Fish Bourbon and Baits. And on today's segment, we have Joe from Parabellum Fishing.
How's it going?
Also have Mike. Mike Howard is our bourbon specialist. And everything urban eating is it what that we want to call it?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Adventuring.
Yeah, a little Michigan exploring.
All right, Joe, can you give our viewers a little bit of background on yourself? Just a short introduction, who you are, how you got started, and what you're doing.
To those who don't know me, hi, my name is Joe. Channel's called Parabellum Fishing. I do a lot of urban canal fishing down here in sunny South Florida. Started the channel a year and a half, 2 years ago, somewhere around there. Wife bought me a GoPro. Said, here, strap this to your chest and get out of my house. And I honestly only planned on doing 1 or 2 videos and calling it quits, but it just kind of stuck, and I've had a great time doing it. Recently got a kayak, so
yes, very excited about that. That's cool. That's very cool. We're going to touch on that. That is going to be something I want to talk to you about. And Mike, a little introduction of yourself and where you're from and what you're doing.
Mike from Michigan. I've lived several areas around the state, and I'm southeast Michigan. Recently started taking my love of Michigan bourbons and Michigan restaurants and that. Started up an Instagram where I'm basically just trying to get some of the local areas some more exposure.
Awesome. And now, Mike, you got some social media accounts.
Yeah.
Correct? Now, you don't have a YouTube channel, but you have an Instagram that you're very active with.
Correct. Yeah, I just dropped that in the chat.
Excellent.
And hopefully I'll be expanding those into doing YouTube shorts with the same basic content, and then also TikTok.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about, or tell our viewers about what you're doing with that social media? Because I mean, it's interesting. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So what I'm looking for is Michigan-based businesses, bars, restaurants, distilleries, breweries, local shops that are activities. Recently did one for a retro arcade in Richmond.
That was pretty cool. That brought back some memories.
Yeah, that place felt like the 80s, 90s. I was in the Aladdin's Castle. Just that place was amazing.
Yep. Yeah, that was neat.
I want to go to I want to do some of these axe throwing places. Just try to hit some stuff. Places that aren't owned by large chains. I'm not going to do one on any Applebee's or any of that type of stuff. But some of the areas, local stars. Basically, there's a bunch of Detroit area restaurants that have James Beard Awards. I'd like to hit up. I'd like to hit up. I mean, on top of that, I'm also doing these small bars that are make me feel like home. So it's just about Michigan, entrepreneurs and their businesses. And
that's awesome.
Super cool.
Yep. Now, for 2023 and beyond, for your social media, do you plan on expanding into doing some of the other smaller stuff like TikTok, for example, doing some shorts for that, or even shorts on YouTube for that matter?
Yep. So I'm going to try spinning up a TikTok account. I have a personal TikTok account. I'm trying to figure out if I can separate the business, or I'll just start up a whole second one for the Bearded Michigan guy stuff. And then also doing the same thing with YouTube Shorts. I'd like to, once I get this going a little bit more, then I'd like to do some YouTube long form stuff. I talked to you before where I wanted to do some of that, pre-2020. I wanted to, some of the distilleries or restaurateurs or breweries, actually go in and talk with the guys who own those places, find out what drove them to build, what keeps them in that, what do they found that were challenges, what do they find that makes them love what they do.
Mm-hmm. So for the bourbon that you have today, do you want to show us a little bit about your selection of what you chose to bring to our viewers that they might want to try?
Yeah, so I'm going to start over here because this one is a little bit hot, and we'll talk about that in a second.
But may lose your voice sampling that.
Right, huh? Exactly. So Detroit City Distilling is an Eastern market. They have 2 different bourbons. This is the one I like better. This is their 4-grain straight bourbon. Means that it's at least 51% corn, and then it will have 4 different grains, probably wheat, rye, and then maybe a rice grain. The 4th one's a little bit people kind of go crazy with. So
Oh, so it'll have an actual rye mix in there as well?
Yeah, yeah. Usually
Oh,
they'll
that's cool.
usually they'll kind of mix in a lot of the standard ones, and then kind of go crazy sometimes on the off ones. Uh, and then Ironfish up near Traverse City, I think it's at Thomasville. These during the summer, if you're up in that area, these guys have outdoor seating, a concert stage. You can
See,
go do
that's great.
tours through there and get samples and do a flight. They're
Awesome.
a great place to go when you're during the summer. They also have igloos and stuff during the winter. I want to like dissuade people from going there.
Yeah, yeah.
But the
That's a good
summer is
thing.
where they really shine. And then Grand Traverse Distillery up in Traverse City. They've got outposts in Frankenmuth, and I think they have one over in Grand Rapids and one in Detroit, where they ship down and sell through their own stores. And they're also available, pretty much everywhere. This is their the cherry whiskey and cherry bourbon whiskey, and it's kind of a
That
favorite.
sounds
If you
really good. That
yeah,
sounds
if you like
really
it a little
good.
sweet or a little heavy on the cherry side of things, this is a great one to go with.
But now, when you say it's heavier on the sweeter side, is it heavier like we were talking about the Angel's Envy before? Is it heavier like on the syrupy, sugary side, or is it more of a cherry sweetness? Is there a tartness
Yeah,
to it?
like there's maybe a little bit of tart, but you're gonna have like when you're trying like Buffalo Trace, you're gonna taste a little bit like the cherry, a little bit of the honey. It's gonna be
Ooh.
heavier in those sweeter notes.
Gotcha.
And that type
That Buffalo
of
Trace seems to always be the one that's on special whenever I hit the bar.
thing. Right. It's popular, and they just switched their
Nothing wrong
distributor
with
to help.
it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
see, you were just talking about the Angel's Envy.
Oh man.
Yes.
See?
This is actually my first shot at it. Guy in the chat right now, Mike at One Man Not Fishing. This was a gift from him. Completely came out of the blue.
Good gift, Mike.
Oh yeah, I'm enjoying it very much. It is definitely sweeter, but very, very good. Good
It
dessert.
is. Yeah, yeah. Very, very heavy on the maple syrup flavor.
Yeah, those notes. Oh yeah.
But then somebody said to try the rye, which I haven't.
Okay.
They said it's a little bit different.
Yeah, so rye tends to be more medicinal flavored, and so like that'll balance that out.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, like rye back in the day when they didn't, mix it in the distilling process, they would mix it with rock candy in like the where they were serving it.
Wow.
So that's where rock and rye comes from.
Okay.
No
Rock
kidding.
candy and rye.
Huh. Did
And
not
so-
know that. That's pretty cool.
And so this last one is from Journeyman's Distillery. They're over in Grand Rapids area. The building that they bought used to be a manufacturer like buggy whips and different parts for buggies for back when there was horse and carriages. And the other side manufactured corsets. And so in order to celebrate the business that they're in, the building that they're in, one of their whiskeys is called Corset Whips and Whiskey. They only bottle this at barrel proof, which means that it's not proofed down for normal like everyone. It's a bit hotter. So this is 119.6 proof.
Whew.
And so
That's gonna have a
So,
burn to it.
That'll
Yeah.
get the job done.
Oh,
so when
boy.
you're dealing with something like this, like a hot one, when you're starting to drink for the night, a good idea is to start out with something that's like bottled in bond, which would be 100 proof or like your normal 80 proof stuff. Maybe start with like one or two drinks of that, and then move to like the barrel proof. That's a hot whiskey. That'll help your palate ease into
Gotcha.
the hot.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Because for a guy like me, I start out really early because I go to bed really early.
Yeah.
So that would be something that's a good pattern to follow. That's
Sure.
pretty cool.
Help out your
So-
taste buds.
So again, Mike's got his Instagram account, Bearded Michigan Guy. It's down in the comment section. Be sure to give him a follow. He's doing some really cool stuff. And Mike, just so you could kind of let people know here locally, what's one of the top destinations that you've been to that you featured on your Instagram account that you would recommend to somebody?
The current top one that I've visited locally would probably be Tiger Lilies. They're a sushi bar located in Ferndale. They have really good craft cocktails. They'll come out with a smoking dome and things like that. And then their sushi, while it's on the more expensive side,
Mhm.
is very very well made. They've got one where they'll bring out like a sliced open bone and they'll heat up the marrow and drip it across the sushi and
Wow.
gives it another level.
Yeah.
When you're paying for raw fish, though, you kind of want to pay for raw fish.
Yeah, exactly. You want to make sure it's good. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, you don't pick that up at 7-Eleven.
Right. Exactly. And then what I haven't posted yet is that business actually has a speakeasy in the back of it. And so that's going to be coming pretty soon. If you go in the back, there's like a little door off right before you get to the bathrooms. And in the back, there's a tiki bar called My Tiki. And I really like the aesthetic in there because it's tiki, but also a little bit edgier. There's on the back wall, there's rows of gold painted skulls, like fake skulls.
Wow.
Just in rows. And then they've got, like your normal, like, heavy alcohol tiki drinks that, they're kind of known for putting, like they're sweet. They don't taste like they have a lot in there, but they got a bunch of it.
So the speakeasy offerings back there are a little bit different than what you'd find up front.
Yeah, so up front you'd have like your smoked cocktails that have like an Asian, way to them, and they're a lot more reserved. And then when you go in the back, that's where you're going to get like your blended drinks or drinks that are shaken with pebble ice to get like that. It's served in like the, like the ceramic tiki mugs and stuff like that. That's a lot more sweet, a lot more, I don't know, fun and sometimes.
So you're getting a completely different experience all in the same place.
Yeah, and they do have small plates back in there that, while they're very different from up front, are the ones that have seafood back in there are using that same seafood, so it's all like very well high quality.
That is awesome. Very cool. I'm really digging the Instagram account.
Thank you very much.
It's very, very cool. Like I said,
I'll pick you up as soon as we're done here. I'm technically stupid. I can't work on all these screens at once. But once I figure it out, as soon as we're done, I'll pick you up.
Yeah, but that arcade definitely hit home because that's where I spent my youth, dropping quarters in. But that was very, very cool. That's awesome. All right, so Joe, let's hop over to the bait side. And if you want to give me a little bit of background on how you came up with your channel name, and your channel name also mirrors the company name, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct. Well, the DBA, actually, the actual company name is something completely different.
Okay.
But doing business as Parabellum Custom Tackle.
Gotcha.
Parabellum, for those who do and don't know, is Latin. Prepare for war. Part of a longer phrase, if you seek peace, prepare for war. Goes back to my childhood. I was always a big gun guy. I was a competition shooter, NRA certified firearms instructor, Glock certified armorer, big into firearms. I actually shot with Marine snipers and done practice drills with them.
Wow.
When I started YouTube, I had just bought my car, which a lot of people give me some flack about. I drive a Dodge Challenger. I know I should have a pickup truck or something, but it is what it is. And I named my car Parabellum. And my first thought was I'd gotten really heavy into the Mopar scene, and I put every accessory on the car that I could find, and that was going to be the start of the channel. So my username was already Parabellum something. I forget what I had. When I decided to do a fishing channel, I changed it to Parabellum Fishing just to kind of keep the Parabellum name in there so people would recognize me.
Yeah, the continuity of it.
Right. And then I gave up on the gas guzzler and just start fishing.
Very cool.
And in fact, the reason I make lead and not soft plastics is growing up, I would make my own bullets with my father. We would walk up and down. Oh yeah, we'd walk up and down Sunrise Boulevard. Pretty major road down here. And back then, the lead on the wheel weights was actual lead alloy. Mm-hmm. Now I don't know what the heck they're made out of, but we would walk up and down Sunrise Boulevard picking up these lead weights that fell off the tires until it got too hot or we had enough. Head back to the house, melt it down, clean it up, pour a bunch of bullets. Next day, go to the range.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
In fact, the first few batches of lead I ever poured for jigs were made out of bullet projectiles. That's what I had laying around for lead.
That is pretty cool. So now the history of your company, or on the bait making side, I guess I should say, I know you made some hard baits before. Do you want to talk a little bit about, I guess, where you started that journey and how you came up with the idea and how it's progressed from there and where you're at now?
Sure. I never really meant to do this. Like I said, it's the DBA. My original company is actually a woodworking company. I have a lathe and I enjoy doing that. And I did a pretty good side business with it for a while. The pandemic basically made the wood impossible for me to get my hands on. You're talking oak, cherry, and some fancier stuff beyond that with the walnuts and everything. I just couldn't get my hands on it. when I could get it, it was too expensive. I couldn't do what I was doing and charge the prices I was charging. I got a little money from the government for not being able to make any money because all my sales were at like local craft shows and things like that. I would set up booths and make money. And I had, okay, here's the money I got. What can I do and still kind of make a little bit? So I bought a lead pot and some molds and basically used that money to reinvest into the company and change it into this. It's been slower going than the woodworking. That was pretty quick. But overall, it's definitely more of a hobby than anything else.
Gotcha. Well, that was a quick way to adapt, though, and going off in a different tangent. That's obviously more affordable, and the materials are easier to get.
Mm-hmm.
But so, is that your passion, the woodworking? Is that kind of where?
It was. It was. I work as a carpenter as my day job, so at the end of the day, I'm kind of sick of sawdust.
Yeah.
But
so you're ready for a change.
Yeah, definitely
ready to get that smelter going, huh?
Pretty much. And it's a great, I can melt lead when it's nice and dry out. And then if I get a rainy day, I can paint the heads and with the powder coat and everything. And still keeps me in fishing mode when I can't be fishing.
Right. Now, and that's something I got some of your baits, or I got some of your jig heads.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you come up with the color schemes for that? And what's your methodology, or how do you design those? Is that something that is just a color preference on your side?
Pretty
much.
Is
it something that you field test and you find works in your environment?
I kind of base that off of what I already know works, so to speak. And I use ProTech powder paint almost exclusively. They're just, and I'm not sponsored or anything. It's just a good quality product and consistent quality product. One jar of green pumpkin is the same as the next jar of green pumpkin. I don't have too much,
there's no lot differences. And
yeah. But a lot of them, it's like here's one of my favorites right now. It's this weighted wacky head jig with the little weed guard on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these are just molds. Do-it molds is primarily what I use. There's not a whole lot of creativity that really goes into it. I know what jigs I like to fish, so those are the molds that I buy, and that's what I have available. When people ask me, hey, can you make a net head? Sure, I can, because I have that mold because I fish that mold. Like guys like Rich with Owl's Nest, they get the same mold basically as I do, but they have so much creativity they can put into what density the plastic is, what colors they're going to mix,
it's
what
amazing
kind of flake they're going to put in. It's incredible. I pour hot lead into a mold, and when it pops out, I can color it or don't.
And that's something you touched on, like with Rich and the stuff that he's doing with the soft plastics now. It was absolutely amazing. The other day, I had a pumpkin seed. He took that picture of the pumpkin seed and came up with a bait that mimicked that.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it was just like, wow. And he did it like that. He's like, I got some ideas. And then those ideas were like all of a sudden formed, and the bait was there within the end of the day. It was pretty cool. So it's amazing with these kits, what you can come up with and what you can
really
do.
Is. It's quite an investment on the soft plastic side, though. That's the other reason I went for lead versus soft plastic. The prior experience with lead, obviously.
Right.
But the initial startup cost, it looks like I can get a lot more variety for my money going lead than soft plastics. So I give it to the guys who make those.
Now, that wacky worm jig that you had right there, with the weed guard, what is your opinion on that? Because I was fishing that this week with the weed guard on, and I found personally that the hookup ratio wasn't as good as I would have liked. Once I cut off that weed guard, it was a much better hookup ratio.
Almost every time, if you got nothing in the way of your hook, you're going to get a better hookup ratio. It's a necessity that you it's a give and take. If you're going to throw in an area where you're worried about getting snagged up, that weed guard might lose you a fish. It also might save you from a few extra snags. Personally, I'm a big fan of no weed guard, generally speaking. But down here in Florida, you snag on everything.
Yeah, it's a necessity.
Without a doubt. It really is a necessity.
Yeah, and I'm almost to that point in our season up here where those EWG ones are coming out because I'm going to have to go to that.
I don't even fish the open hook style anymore.
No kidding.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I did.
Gotcha.
I went straight EWG net head now.
Yeah, because I'll definitely be breaking those out. Those are excellent products, by the way.
Good. I'm glad you like them, man. Thank you.
For sure.
Oh yeah, I've saved myself a fortune, not buying the things.
Right. Yeah. And that's how Rich was too with the soft baits that he was making. It was kind of crazy because
he actually said that on one of his videos. Actually.
Yeah, he's got bags and bags of stuff now where it's just like he can't give it away quick enough. He's making it so much, it just it takes on a life of its own. It's pretty cool. So now, what are some goals for your channel and for some of the things you want to do bait making wise coming up for this year and beyond?
Um, well, as far as the bait making goes, that's I guess the easier one. There's not really much of a goal. It's like I said, it's more of a hobby. I get a real kick out of watching you guys use them. When I get tagged in a video and I see it's because they're using my jigs, I get a real kick out of that. That
That's
to
cool.
me is worth a fortune, right? I love that. That's just awesome to me. I would like to make a few more sales just to keep the hobby sustained. Right now it's all out of pocket, but it doesn't take much. And again, I buy jigs or molds that I fish, so I'm not dependent on sales to go. So yeah, that's really it on the business side. On the channel, I have two. This year, I want to hit that coveted 1K subscriber mark with the 4K watch hours. I would like to hit that this year. When we started up tonight, I was at 870 something.
Oh wow,
So I think it's possible.
absolutely it is.
I'm a little short on watch hours, but I think that'll all come. It's not a financial thing. It's more of a validation thing. I've talked to plenty of guys who are in the thousands and thousands, and they're like, "Yeah, it's not a financial thing because you're not
Yeah,
getting it."
no.
Yeah,
And
it's more
even
about.
when I came up close to 1,000, my watch hours were down.
Mhm,
And I don't know if it's something that they hold back some of the figures in that
mhm.
on purpose, but once I hit the 1,000 hours, all of a sudden nothing really changed in my viewership or the total amount of views in the videos, but the watch hours went absolutely crazy.
Really?
So yeah, and I reached that 4,000 really, really quick, and I was
Okay.
kind of like, I didn't. I still think their algorithms and some of the other stuff that they do, they kind of tweak it, and I don't know. I don't think they necessarily show you everything that you're necessarily entitled to for the production of your content.
Right.
But who knows? I don't
Yeah.
know enough
Like I
about the
said, that
background of
part to
that
me,
stuff.
whatever. It's if people are enjoying what I do, that's like I said. I never planned on really doing it. I was going to do a video or two and move on. So if people are
Right.
enjoying it, that's awesome.
That's awesome, and you have excellent content. And again,
Thank you.
if you have not subscribed to Joe over at Parabellum Fishing, definitely check his content out. And
Please.
we're talking about what's coming up on your channel. You recently kind of introduced a new, how should I say, tactic to getting on the fish, and it's not from the shoreline.
Dude, it's like my new favorite thing too. I had a fishing kayak once before, and it was a boat. I mean, it was this giant Ascend thing from Bass Pro. The thing was
Yep,
huge,
that's what I had too.
and I had the pickup truck, so it wasn't an issue back then. When I got rid of the truck, I had no way of moving the kayak,
Right.
so I sold it. And then the last time Dick's Sporting Goods ran these Lifetime Tetons on sale, I grabbed one. Yeah, Michigan fisherman. He's a major proponent of them, and I trust his opinion. And if he can do it on Lake St. Clair, I
Oh
can do
yeah.
it in my little canals.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that. I have it rigged up. I'm not sure if I'm going to beat the bank tomorrow or drag it out, but it's one of my new favorite things.
That's very cool. Now, that was one of the things that I went from the kayak to the ultra skiff
Overskiff, yeah.
because the fact that I just did not feel comfortable in the kayak, and especially if I'm out on Lake St. Clair and hook into a muskie, I did not feel comfortable with that ascent. That's not to say all kayaks are unstable. It's
Sure.
just that the fact that the budget model that I had purchased definitely wasn't going to suit my needs. So when jumping up on that, okay, so I'm in the ultra skiff now. You can't tip it over. That's fine. If I hook into a big muskie, when Rich and I were on the boat the other day, I hooked into one, and we even had a problem on his Champion
Hmm.
to where we didn't have a net that was capable of bringing this thing in. I can't even imagine if I get something like that on the ultra skiff, but you have gators down there.
Yeah.
Like, if I get one, I get one. I can't even imagine that. And if you're going to be doing offshore fishing, are you going to be doing some saltwater stuff with it as well?
Not in the kayak, no.
No. Okay.
I haven't saltwater fished in decades, almost.
Okay. Because
I
I know
love
that.
saltwater fishing.
Yeah, and that was one of Larry's questions too.
Yes, it was.
Larry had a question regarding the freshwater baits and how that kind of translates over to saltwater fishing.
Mhm.
Is there any insight you can give Larry on that? Because I think Larry's looking for the same thing for where he's at in Australia.
Yeah, and the short answer to all that is yes. The fish don't know. Okay, well that's a zoom. That's for freshwater. I'm not biting that. They're going to hit it if you get it near them. The biggest difference is going to be the components. The saltwater. We've all had freshwater rust out our hooks and things of that nature. The saltwater will absolutely. You can almost watch it disintegrate. it just destroys them. So even the saltwater branded hard baits, the wires inside of them are designed better, stainless steel and whatever, to withstand the salt. So if you got a favorite soft plastic or something you want to use, or even a favorite top water bait, or even a crankbait, change the hooks to saltwater hooks, and maybe not mix it back with your regular tackle afterwards until you change the hooks again back out.
Right. Yeah. Don't mix it.
Oh no. And especially if you're going to use the same rod and reel combo, wash it off, get that salt out of there. Because if it's not saltwater rated, you'll find out real quick.
Yep.
Yeah. Saltwater will destroy it.
Now, and that's something that I want to talk about when it comes to soft plastics.
Sure.
I understand the hook issue and what can happen there, but for like buoyancy testing, like whether it be Senkos or, Zoom salty tube, something that has buoyancy in freshwater, how does the buoyancy of the saltwater affect how that lure interacts?
I'm not 100% on that. I don't want to give any bad information on that one. That one I'm not really 100% sure on. I know I used a lot of like the Zoom. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not Zoom. You said Zoom. The Z-Man make a lot of saltwater ready plastics.
Okay.
And they react like a Z-Man would react.
But now, have you taken those saltwater baits and transferred that to freshwater?
I've never done that.
Okay. Because there's got to be something there that they change up, because the buoyancy obviously with
you're probably right.
Totally different than freshwater.
Yeah, I never really put that much thought into it.
So Larry, that's the short of it, and we don't really know, to be honest with you, but it will get bit either way. Fish are fish, and they're going to be hungry. They're going to.
I want to say hi to a few people in the chat. We do have Rich in here.
Absolutely.
And Ted from Off the Hook.
Ted, you've been doing outstanding out there, buddy. Been amazing. All right, now I do want to ask you this, Joe. What is your favorite species to fish for?
It's always going to be, for right now, largemouth bass. Yeah, largemouth bass. Just, it's the reason I started fishing these canals. Now, obviously, I slay the snakehead all the time, and it's great to tear into a peacock. But almost every time I go out, I'm trying to catch a bass. If you saw my last one, I know you did, where I pulled the snakeheads in off the kayak.
Oh, yeah.
I was almost really hoping I didn't, because I didn't know how I was going to be able to deal with that. I
feel you.
Oh, because they did. I don't know if the camera really showed it, but they pulled my boat a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. But no, largemouth bass will always be, I think, the number one that I go for.
Okay. Now, with that being said, what's your least favorite down there?
I hate catching gar.
No kidding.
Yeah, they're annoying. I used to actually not be a big snakehead fan back in the day,
right?
Because they stink and they got teeth and they're slimy, But yeah, probably gar and maybe tilapia that get in the way sometimes. I'm trying to catch up on bluegill and stuff. But no, fish is a fish. I don't mind catching the bowfin.
Cool.
I just enjoy fishing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, for bowfin, it was something that I really didn't care for. I mean, I despise pike. It's just clear. Let's make it very clear. I mean, it does.
We know that of you.
Watch my channel. Yeah, it's clear on that. But the bowfin, I'm starting to take a liking to the aggressiveness and the fight that they put up.
Sure.
And Tim even gave me a hard time when I caught this last one just this week when we were out. My latest video, I mean, this thing's coming right at the boat like a missile. Got great footage of this thing coming through the water like a shark. And then it just kind of went docile. And, once it got in the net, it started thrashing around.
Right.
But I'll take those over pike any day. The teeth are different on them. They're set back a little bit farther. They're not as easy to get cut up on. But the gar is another thing. Those are majestic up here. I mean, they're not that easy to catch. They're mostly by mistake.
Oh, yeah, down here too.
Yeah, and the one that I did catch was actually clamped onto a swim bait, and once I got him in the net, he let go of it. So I mean, I didn't even have him hooked. Yeah, he just was stubborn and would not let go. It was funny.
Yep.
All right, so now we're going to flip back to the bourbon side. And Joe, what are you drinking on tonight?
I'm currently drinking some of that Angel Envy we were talking about.
Awesome.
New to me. I've never really drank it before. The first time I saw it was on the last time you did this.
Okay.
And then just coincidentally, my buddy Mike, One Man Out Fishing, just gifted me the bottle kind of out of nowhere. Awesome. Very, very thoughtful gift. And I'm enjoying it. This is number 2. It's a good dessert. It's sweet. I'm normally, like I said before, just a regular straight up Jim Beam kind of guy. I don't, you guys know a lot more about bourbons than I do. I do not claim to know anything. I just know what I like. And
that's the first step.
Yeah. But it's very, very good. I'm enjoying it.
And no, you had another bottle there that you showed us before too?
I did. This was another gift, and this one I haven't opened yet, called Four Roses. And I've heard some amazing things. I was told to save it for a really good occasion, so I am. This was a gift for my 40th birthday. Around that time, my buddy brought it back.
You're a baby, Joe.
So, I'm sorry?
You're a baby.
Well, yeah, it's 3 years old.
Now, Mike, what's your take on that Four Roses?
Same gray.
Yeah. That's the marriage thing. I think that comes from that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Four Roses is great because they come in like so many different levels. So you have like your normal Four Roses that's going to be budget, but like that the one that you have there, like the barrel select or the small batch. That's going to be something that's much better character wise. It's been aged a little bit, taken a little bit more care of. Nice. When they're doing like the normal Four Roses, they know how it's going to react. So basically, my understanding is that they do a ton of it, and they don't necessarily keep an eye on it so much, except for at the end they quality test it. Obviously to make sure they're not putting out something terrible.
Right.
But with like that small batch, they might open that barrel up a couple of times just to make sure it's maturing the way they want it to, because they only have so much of it.
Okay.
And it lets them play with it, and that's why that kind of takes me to a different area that I was going to talk about was certain like these small distilleries. The reason that I got really into them is because they're a large distillery like Four Roses. They do great. They push out like those like that. They have a couple other ones that are aged. They'll have age statement ones that come out. But like Motor City Gas and some of these other ones, they'll make 21 different types of whiskey but they're all small batch because they know they're never going to have like that. Well, they hope that maybe they'll blossom, but currently they don't have like that crazy amount of reach. And so like they might have, that barrel there is pear whiskey, and that barrel there is sorghum whiskey, and this over here is sweetened with like when you go into into like one of these small distilleries, a lot of times you're going to have a lot more variety, a lot more excitement, and that's what really brought me into. Okay, well maybe I don't want to go to some of these things. I want to hit up these things around me and find out what these guys are doing and get inside their heads and see what they're doing.
That's cool.
Now, do they get together amongst themselves as well and compare notes, or is it a very competitive, secretive process where people want that holy grail that's really going to take off?
I think a little column A, a little column B. I think like I know like Texas has a lot of like close knit. I believe Michigan has a lot of close knit, but I think that it's also like funny because they still want to beat out each other. But I think like if without a doubt, I think if one of them had like something bad happen to them, they would all help each other out.
Sure.
I've heard of other distilleries where like they might barrel age something while this other the newer distillery or a distillery that had an issue was rebuilding, and they're all very close knit. I feel like it's kind of similar to like fishing guys, like if I know someone who has an issue where their boat's broke or especially if they're having an issue on the water, we're going to come together. We're going to help each other out, and that's the same idea. They're going to help each other out, and they're very close knit, but they're also competitive. In Michigan specifically, is going to be competitive versus Ohio for other reasons. Like if you talk to them, it's friendly competition, but still it's going to have like a little bit more towards because of our sports back and forth and
Sure.
just history back and forth.
Yep, a lot of rivalries going on.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun to talk to these guys and get inside their thought processes and that type of thing.
Cool. So now when you go to these restaurants, and so you have eateries, and obviously you're sampling the bourbons, whether it be flights or anything else, what types of foods, like for instance that sushi restaurant, what types of foods would you pair with certain types of bourbons or stay away from? Like say the higher proof ones, is that something you don't want to eat with food, you want to just do a pour of? Or is that something that would pair well with a meal?
So what I would do is it's a lot like pairing wine with food. And so if you're having fish like that sushi, or just like baked fish, if you're going to a nice fish restaurant, I would do something that's 80 proof or a little bit lower. Maybe even, like that's probably a place where I'm much more likely to have a cocktail with my meal versus having a straight pour. And then I'll have the straight pour afterwards. because fish is so delicate
Mm-hmm.
that you could just steamroll all that taste of the fish, and then like, well, the bourbon tasted great, but the fish could have been anything. Now, on the other side of that, if you go to a steakhouse, and especially if it's something that's like aged steak, that's going to have, because when you age a steak, you take all the water out of it, and you have your meat flavor is going to be way up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a spot where you're going to want something that's maybe a little bit heavier on the whiskey side.
Okay.
That's going to have the character to stand up against like the 100 proof or higher whiskeys.
So you're pairing that with something that's a little richer.
Right. Yeah. So you're gonna take your richer bourbons and pair it with something that's got more character, and your lighter bourbons or cocktails with something that doesn't have that ability to stand up.
Excellent. So now, what would you recommend, like for, say, the after dinner or dessert drink, if you're going to have more?
If it depends on your palate, I'm probably going to do like a neat or of something that's maybe still higher proof, but maybe a little bit sweeter. Something that like this isn't necessarily higher proof, but they do have some higher proof versions of the cherry bourbon. Some of the Angel's Envy is a little bit high. You can get some high, like that, where it's sweeter. You're ending your meal, and it's almost like you're drinking your dessert. And it's just it's gonna finish out just nice and sweet.
It's doing well right now. I
exactly.
I had steak for dinner. It's doing great.
Right.
That is good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That is very good stuff.
Do we all drink it neat, or do you guys put ice in yours?
I drink neat.
Yeah, I drink it neat or in a cocktail. And then if I do a cocktail, I'm going to use something that's like not as like these are going to be some stuff that I drink neat. But then like your entry level versions of different things is what I'm going to use for a cocktail. Like I'll do like a Buffalo Trace old fashioned, but I wouldn't do like an Eagle Rare old fashioned, which is the same distillery. It's something that like I'm not gonna. It wouldn't necessarily make sense to use like something that's like $100 bottle in a cocktail because you're gonna lose some of that character.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't be mixing this with Coke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the Jim Beam for sure.
Oh, Beam and Coke or Jack?
Yeah.
I'm a big Jack and Coke guy since high school.
I never minded Beam straight. Just
I love Jim Beam straight. Yeah. That's my main.
Never had an issue with that. Yeah. Okay. Ted's got a question. He says, "Can I ask a question? Is bourbon a drink to actually have with a meal, or more of a before or after a meal, like Joe said, like dessert?"
So bourbon kind of falls in the whiskey side of things. It's kind of sweeter. So I mean, I wouldn't mind having it with a red meat meal like steak.
Mm-hmm.
Bourbon's going to pair up with that, especially if it's smoked. Like if you go to a barbecue place, the smoke from the barrel of the bourbon is going to mix with that smoke from the barbecue, and it's just going to pushes it so far. Like the sweetness of, if you sauce, it's going to sweeten the sweetness from the bourbon's going to push that sweetness up. It's going to pair well. But if you're at like some of the lighter fish or chicken or that, or even something like if I was doing the sushi, and even though they have some smoked sushi, I'm going to push my bourbon towards the end and have something, maybe a cocktail with it, or have like a beer through the meal.
Yeah, I can't drink bourbon with food. It usually doesn't match well with me.
Yeah, it's going to have depending on what you're eating, it's going to have it'll either just steamroll what you're eating, or you're going to have or you're going to have something that can stand up to it, and that might help.
Yeah, I'm usually, if I'm going to have something, it's going to be a beer.
Yeah.
Nice cold Yinling or something to go with my steak dinner tonight.
Oh man, killing me. They don't sell it in Michigan yet.
We're banned from that for some reason. I don't quite understand it, but
it's something about what we say about the Packers. I don't know.
And I'll tell you what, that was the first thing when we got down to Florida. The first thing I got at Publix went right to that and got that.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Because we don't have it up here. We have to drive into Ohio to get it. And it's not like it's bootleg and you're not going to get in trouble for bringing it back. But
I didn't know that.
They don't have a distribution here.
Yeah. It's weird. And I have friends that are in Chicago that we have some common beers here that they can't get there. And they're at a premium when they do bring them across the border. Because again, Chicago's not that far from Michigan. They do a lot of reselling of stuff and things like that. So very interesting.
I did not know that. Sorry, I'm also reading the chat. My guys are.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any more questions from chat for our guests here? For either Mike or for Joe or for myself, that matter. And there's crickets. They're all drinking bourbon tonight. So
they're all inspired.
Everybody's nodding off.
That's right. Well, I know John with Smallwater Chargers. He's not a big drinker. I don't believe Bayou Buck is either anymore. We're trying to make Joe smile. Joe's always smiling. Come on, you just watch me pour number 3. Smiles are coming.
All right. So, anything else you guys want to add or bring to the discussion?
Sure.
That you guys didn't touch on.
Sure. So one of the things that that I encourage people to do when they're at a place, and I brought it up through my experience a lot when we're talking about bourbons or distilleries or even restaurants, that is, if you like what someone's making or what they're pouring, you know, a lot of times, you know, if I go into a distillery, a lot of times I'll sit at the bar, and the reason for that is you know, me and my friends will talk to each other, but then we'll also, you know, like, ask, hey man, this is great stuff, you know, like what made you make this, or what did this, you know, and a lot of that's gonna, you know, be dependent on how busy they are, but similar to, you know, like if I'm fishing with a Parabellum, like you said, like when you see people catch stuff and they tag you and it makes you feel good. You tell that guy who's pouring you a drink, or, you know, maybe the guy who went through the whole process of making it, you tell him that because, you know, bourbon has to be at least like a 3-year age statement. So he's put time into that, and you tell him
a lot of investment. Yeah.
I've talked to them about that sometimes. They're like, man, this is some great stuff. I can't believe, you know, it came out of this little Michigan distillery, whatever. I've talked to them, and that's blossomed into, you want to take a look around? I'll take you back. And it's just, they're so excited to get that feedback. You know, to get that feedback, get some, you know, affirmation, just know that they're doing a good job, knowing that people are liking what they're pouring. And if you give them, you know, your thoughts, they're gonna react to it. It's a lot of fun, and it makes, you know, for me, it makes my visit a lot more fun. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you're 100% right, man. That validation, it's awesome to hear that. You know, like I said, I get a big kick out of watching. It seems like my jigs are extremely popular in your neck of the woods, and I get a big kick. I saw Joe and Brian out there fishing, calling them cheater jigs. And I didn't know what he meant, so I asked him. He goes, "Oh, it's almost not fair." And I'm like, "That's awesome." You know, that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that's sweet. Uh-oh. We got Ted saying he wants to get Joe drunk so he buys more of his baits.
His baits are so good you can buy him sober.
See that, Ted? Have some confidence.
Speaking of which, where's my order, Ted?
Uh-oh, here it comes.
Yeah.
He's been out fishing. He's been a little busy.
I've heard. Nothing wrong with that.
No, like I said, between Facebook and the posts he's been putting out, man, just some incredible fish.
One of these days, I'll bite the bullet and get Facebook.
You have to come up here, Joe. We got to get you into some smallmouth.
Oh, that's on my list. It's smallmouth.
You have
big
got
time
to do
on
that.
my list. It's funny. We have so many fish down here that everybody, I post a video. Oh man, I'd love to catch that. Oh, I'd love to catch that.
Sure.
We also don't have a lot down here. You know,
right.
We're not going to get walleye. I'm not going to get a pike. You know, I'm going to get a chain pickerel, which is close, but I'm not going to get a pike.
That's not a bad thing, Joe. That's not a bad.
Well, that's what I hear. But, you know, until you get one,
right?
Like I was talking to Buck the other day, and apparently the northern snakehead has been spotted in Louisiana.
Yep, I saw that as well.
Our way south, and I've never caught a northern snakehead. So yeah, there's a lot that I would like to do. I want to go wading through the water to go fishing. I want to do that one day.
Oh yeah, do some creeks. So Rich says, yes, please, Joe, come up. I have room for you in the boat.
Sweet. If I can convince my wife there's a reason she would like to go to Michigan, maybe I can pull that off.
And I guarantee you, the drop shot master that he is, he will get you on some incredible fish. Nice. He will get you into some incredible baits that he has and just blow your mind.
That's what I want, Rich. Look at your comments.
He is a machine out there. He is a machine out there.
I've actually got a drop shot rigged up right now sitting in the kayak. That one spot I was in on my last video is a lot deeper than I'm used to fishing. now it's South Florida, so when I say deep, I'm talking 10, 12 feet at most. But usually I'm fishing 3 feet of water. Right. I got out there and I was throwing a bait, and it was just going and going and going. So I set up a drop shot with a decent leader. I want to try to hit the bottoms a little better next time, see what I can pull out.
And Buck says, you aren't going to want to wade in the water in Louisiana.
Not as much as I do here.
Yeah, that's more
of these. You'll convince me to wade through it.
That's more of a Midwest thing, for sure.
Well, I see Trey from Fish Mag doing it, and I get all kinds of jealous.
Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. Yeah, Trey does a good job on his channel too. I miss that dude.
Absolutely.
So, all right, anything anybody wants to add to close out?
No, just thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And I thank everybody there in chat that showed up for the presentation. And Joe, again, thank you very much. Keep up the good work on the channel, and best of luck to you on that kayak. Be safe out there.
Thank you. I will.
And Mike, thank you very much again for all your knowledge. It's coming very handy. And I cannot wait to see some of the stuff that you're coming up with on your travels.
Thank you.
Very cool. We'll have to hook up and go to a few places too. I definitely want to hit that arcade.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Anytime.
All right. So just so everybody knows where we sit with the bourbon and baits, this is something that's going to happen more in the fall. I'm just kind of experimenting with it now through the fishing season. A lot of busy with a lot of other stuff right now to kind of put it out on a regular basis, but we'll dabble in it. And then, like I said, in the off season, we'll really touch on it and have more discussions, more people involved in it. And we'll get into some more of the fishing stuff in preparation for the next season as we talk about it. So
that's funny. Y'all have seasons.
No, I'll tell you what,
we just go outside and fish.
we have more of an off season than we have an on season, and it's seasonal depression is a real thing up here.
What's funny is before YouTube, I didn't realize that until I start watching guys like you, and I'm like, why aren't they out fishing? And it's frozen. That's weird.
And it's so weird too for like Larry, because their season in Australia is the opposite of ours. So ours is on fire right now, and he's just getting into that winter season. So Larry's got those doldrums coming up. And the funny thing is he's originally from Michigan.
Okay. I think I heard you mention that once before.
Yeah, not too far from me. And he actually, he's kind of dealing with, at least he had exposure to that when he was up here. So he knows how to deal with it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't get it.
So, all right. Well, thank all of you for showing up. And again, thank you very much for my guest tonight. Again, Joe from Parabellum Fishing. Make sure you check out his channel and his Instagram.
Thank you.
And also for Mike, make sure you follow that Instagram up and hit him up. He's got some good stuff coming. So until next time, be safe, be well. And as always, live to fish. Take care, everybody.
Good evening.